fair use, fair use. I have not made any money whatsoever from this ministry or this channel, and this video will not be any different. I will leave a link to the original video, and I encourage folks to perhaps watch the video in its entirety, but I'm going to be using a few minutes of it to set the stage for this lesson. All right? Giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahawah, Sham, Yahawashi.
The Iran war was supposed to blow up the world economy.
The war in Iran has sent the price of oil and natural gas soaring, putting pressure on just about everyone.
Ship traffic has slowed to just a dribble, and the longer it stays disrupted, the more pressure builds across the entire global energy system.
But it's been a month of really severe fighting and a near total shutoff of oil and gas out of the Middle East, and most of the world seems basically fine. Like, you look at your window and what you see is not Mad Max. What you see is more a normal variety bad economy.
Attacking at least 3 ships moving through the Strait of Hormuz. And that translates to prices at the gas pump, now at levels not seen since the start of the war in Ukraine 4 years ago.
So what's going on here? Was the doomsaying all wrong? Are things basically fine? And to figure this out, we're going to answer the question, what actually happens when the world's largest oil-producing region goes to zero? Like, physically, step by step, from the moment the tap turns off, how does that work? How does that ripple down the supply chain to your gas pump, to your grocery store? How long do the lights stay on? How long do planes stay in the air? And look, I will spoil the ending for you. The fine that you see out your window right now is fake. It's a mirage. I don't care where in the world you are, there is a 100-foot tidal wave rising above your head, and once you see why it's rising and what's going to happen when it hits, you will not be able to miss it. The thing we are talking about has a name, an oil shock, and we are right now in the biggest oil shock in history. Think of it like a bomb that's exploded very far away. We see the flash, but the shock wave hasn't reached us yet. Today we're going to answer what happens when that shock wave hits, what it's going to do, what will change, how it's going to play out, which also means asking why it's taking so long to reach us, why we're in this weird lull right now. As promised though, we're going to start by tracing what actually happens when the oil spigot goes from on to off. And the first thing you need to know is something that seems simple, seems obvious, but it turns out to be really, really important. This is an oil tanker, and the thing to know about an oil tanker is that it's really, really big. 4 soccer fields long, carries 2 or 3 million barrels of oil, and it weighs more than a skyscraper, all of which makes it slow, 10 or 15 knots. That is, no joke, the speed of a bicycle. Our global energy supply lines move at the speed of a Schwinn. And let me show you on this globe why that's important. If you biked all day, how much of this globe do you think you could cross? Like, maybe the width of the point of this pen, right? Maybe. You worked really hard. Okay, now imagine hopping on your 12 speed starting in Dubai. Where's Dubai? Here we go. Starting in Dubai. And now imagine that you have to bike out of Dubai all the way down here, down the coast of Africa, down, across the Cape of Good Hope, back up the other coast of Africa, all the way across the Atlantic, through the Caribbean, before finally arriving at the deepwater oil port in Louisiana. That would take forever on a bike, right? Which, remember, is the speed that these oil tankers go. Like, that is how our oil travels, as if it were on a bike. And maybe you see where I'm going with this. This is a map of global oil flows put together by JP Morgan. Don't worry about all this text, we'll explain it in a minute. These red lines show the oil coming out of the Middle East, going out to the rest of the world. This is the stuff that's been cut off. Here it is back in December before the war. There it goes, the oil is flowing. But remember, it moves at the speed of a bunch of bicycles. So now it's January, and the oil is just finally reaching parts of Asia and Europe. And we're into February before it hits the US, and then it hits refineries in South Korea that then sends it on down these pink lines to Australia and New Zealand. So when the war starts and the oil stops flowing, there's actually still a ton out there, taking its long, lazy little bike ride around the globe. That's a big part of why things seem weirdly normal. For most countries, the oil shutdown has not reached us yet. We're still getting shipments that were sent out before the war started. So when do those shipments stop? If you look at that map again, it says most deliveries to the US will stop around April 15th. Most deliveries to the US will stop around April 15th. Most deliveries to the US will stop around April 15th. In Europe, they stop around April 10th. Asia, April 1st, so it's just getting started. But here in parts of Africa, it was March 20th. We're already well into it. And to be clear, these places aren't out of oil. Every country has emergency stockpiles. So let's see what that looks like. Gas lines are the first thing to show up. Not enough fuel at the pump. And these are already everywhere. South Africa, Pakistan, Vietnam, a bunch of places. In Laos, they ordered schools closed for 1 day a week so there'd be fewer people on the roads. The Philippines and Ethiopia did the same thing for government offices. And Sri Lanka is making everybody take every Wednesday off of work now. There are also restaurant curfews, mass flight cancellations, air conditioning shutoffs.
Okay, so giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS. Salutations to my fellow laborers, pushing this truth in all sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth, and shalom to the saints. Now, you have media coverage of everything that's going on, right? That they want you to focus on. But somehow or the other, this map from JP Morgan, which shows you that we are not really feeling anything yet from this war in Iran, as far as a significant increase in oil prices and gas prices, is absent from the coverage. And they are artificially keeping the prices of oil and its derivatives artificially low as to not induce panic. Because when you want to catch fish, you want the atmosphere to be as calm as possible. This is the book of Proverbs, the 1st chapter and the 17th verse. It says, "Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird." Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. Now this is Proverbs 1:17 in the NLT. It says, "If a bird sees a trap being set, it knows to stay away." See that? So when you're setting a trap, which they are setting a trap, they don't want you to be aware that they're setting a trap, because they want you to be caught in it. 2 Corinthians 2:11 says, "We are not ignorant of Satan's devices, lest he should gain advantage of us." So what trap are they setting for you? What trap are they setting for me? The whole purpose and the intentional consequences of this war in the so-called Middle East is what we see happening right now, and what will become increasingly obvious in the coming weeks. They want to destroy the energy supply, which will impact every aspect of our lives, including food and water, electricity, communication, transportation, healthcare. Everything is going to be negatively affected. They're going to cause a drastic reduction in the quantity of goods and services, so that they will have an excuse to ration everything. And in order to have the best form of documentation of the rationing in terms of making sure that everyone gets their allotted amount, it's all going to be digital. Okay? So you are going to have to be assigned a digital ID in order to get your rations. And once they have you on a digital ID and have your retina scan and your fingerprint and your facial scan and your handprint, and once they get you to submit to that and be a part of that beast system, they could tell you jump and you're gonna have to say how high, daddy, in order to eat.
Our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
And what he is describing is their push for programmable money. He called it central bank digital currencies, but it could be stable coins that are hooked up to a social credit system. There are many different ways of doing programmable money. Here's what he told you. He told you the money that you have is not your money, it's their money. So he said it's an expression of central bank liability. And what he said, and of course this is the beauty of AI and software and telecommunications and the different systems we're putting into place, what he said is, we can make the rules centrally, the central bankers can make the rules, and we can enforce them using the technology. Now what that means is, we've all lived in a world where the bankers ran monetary policy, but our legislative representatives and our executive branch ran fiscal policy. What he's saying is, we can now run fiscal policy through your money, and that means we can do taxation without representation. So that's the message. We intend to have total central control.
Could you just paint a picture of what this digital control grid might look like?
Right. And in fact, what we're talking about is building the different building blocks to build into the mark of the beast. And if you look at what's happening with digital technology, none of this can happen without 100% digitized financial system. So the two chief components are a digital ID and programmable money. And once you get rid of cash and analog systems, if you look at how the financial system is being sort of organized and fused, we have all these different pieces. And if you talk to most people, they find each piece convenient. The problem is when you get to 100% digital money and you kill cash and you kill any analog system like checks, what happens is the system fuses, bang, and you get, next slide, the digital concentration camp. So the example I used earlier this afternoon is, imagine getting a call in 2028, and someone says, a representative from the government, either you transgender your children or we're going to turn off your money. Unless you take this pharmaceutical or you give it to your children, we're going to turn off your money. We have another pandemic. They say, you're locked down, your money won't work if you leave your home. We've decided you shouldn't buy real meat, you shouldn't eat real meat, we're going to have you buy lab-grown meat. Your money will only work to buy lab-grown meat.
So the trap is set. We're just less than 2 weeks out from the masses of the American population realizing the magnitude of what's getting ready to happen. We can already see what they're doing in different parts of the world, Bangladesh and India. And I brought out a lesson on it earlier, how they're already rationing fuel and requiring vehicles to have QR codes in order to perform the rationing. And they're going to ration everything, starting with water and then food. And as soon as they get everyone on the system, they're going to exclude all the individuals who say they have faith in the Most High. And Revelation 3 and 10, the hour of temptation, is going to be in full effect. And you're going to have to finally show and prove what and who you really believe in. So, it's coming. You know, I remember when people used to be laughing at preppers and calling them chicken little and, oh, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Nobody's laughing anymore. The scoffers have significantly dwindled down because they're seeing the reality. But most of Americans don't sense the danger just yet. They're still going about their daily lives as if nothing is happening. But, a big change is coming, and we keep warning and warning. And you can just go back on the history of my channel and see that this is not something new that we've been warning about. Because you got a lot of Johnny-come-latelys now who want to pretend as if they were warning the people about these things, but all they're doing is reporting on current events. But we've been warning about this long before it seemed like it was even a possibility, and yet here we are. And the message remains the same. Seek the Most High while he may be found. Isaiah 55 and 6. Pray and repent before it's too late. Shalom.